Okay, guys, take one, and welcome to the first part of our shiur. I asked you to read chapter 4 of Melachim Bet, and we are looking at what is going to be one of the most interesting sections. We have in this chapter not one, not two, three, but four separate miracles done by Elisha. And of course, I asked you to concentrate on the main miracle, which was the Shunammite woman and her son, but you should be able to get a lot more. At the beginning, she's pulling oil's coming everywhere. Then there's poison with that's got in somebody's porridge, and there's bread there's not enough bread, and everywhere Elisha goes, he is doing miracles. Now this is very different than Eliyahu because Eliyahu is also a miracle doer. In fact, we don't have Nevi'im do this in Tanakh. Since people in Tanakh generally don't go walking around doing Nisim left, right, and center. But even when Eliyahu did it, there was always some theological lesson. You're not listening to Kadosh Baruch Hu, you're not listening to Hashem, you don't get rain. You want proof that there's a Shem, I will bring fire down. You're trying to arrest the Navi, you get zapped by lightning. But aside from that, there isn't that much. Instead of this, we have Elisha, his student, who is walking around the people. Okay, he's already healed water and brought bears out. He's helped Bnei Israel in chapter 3. If you didn't get a chance to read the chapter, please read the chapter beforehand. You can see a full picture. We're going to see more of it. I'm going to ask you to read chapters 5, 6, and 7 for tomorrow when I am back. But to have the text familiar with you, it says chapters 5, 6, and 7. But here in this chapter, we have four separate miracles, and let's look at these miracles quickly, okay? So the first one, of course, is the woman with her oil. Now, we don't know who this woman is, but it does say something about. I'm just looking at the text here. It says, "Isha achad min nashe b'nei nevim za'aka Elisha lemor." A certain woman from one of the students. Now, this is an interesting subtext. We're going to see that, unlike Eliyahu, who there's an allusion to the fact there are other nevim, there are other good people in the world, but they are in hiding around the world, and Ovadia is feeding them. Now we have this woman, and who's this widow of one of these Bnei Nevi'im, who has obviously sacrificed a lot to be a Navi, to learn the ways of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And they're all wondering, like, well, what? And we're going to see this. These Nevi'im need help left, right, and center, and Elisha's there for them. As opposed to Eliyahu, where they're like under the table and they're hidden. Now the Nevi'im are out. So already this is a very big advance. We have Nevi'im who are walking around, and this woman comes out. It's interesting, Chazal identify her with Eshet Ovadia. Now you might say, Ovadia, as you remember, was the Rosh Memshalah, the head of Achav's cabinet, who on one hand was, working for Achav, yet on the other hand, as he tells Elisha, I'm the one who's feeding you're a great guy, but I'm your servant, but there's an illusion. I'm the one who's feeding the people here. I'm the one who's keeping them alive, and you're not really helping too much. And Elisha says to her, okay, so what can I do? There's also something else here, which is, of course, the old practice in how did poverty and slavery become popular? It had nothing to do with, like enslaving other people. But by nature, what happens is a person would get into debt and they'd have to pay it off. Um, and if you think that's far away from modern living, think about the people who walk around with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and have functionally lost freedom, even though in theory, they're not wearing shackles and chains. But the nature of when you live in a society where people are encouraged to accumulate large amounts of debt and then they find themselves trapped paying it off and at exorbitant rates, then it becomes we can understand what slavery begins to mean here. It's something that we feel. So she comes and she says, my husband's dead. And this is one more point, as we've mentioned many times in Midrash Kal, we've made this claim, I don't know who this person is, but I got somebody else who might fit. We have it like the two Bnei Israel who are fighting. If you remember in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, in the beginning of Shemot, he sees two Bnei Israel fighting. Rashi comes and says, who are Jews who fight? It must be Datan and Abiram. There's no other way to explain it. But now we have, or somebody comes and tells Abraham that the lot's been taken. It must be Og because he wants to try to sneak in, make the moves on Sarah while Avram's gone because he's expecting Avram to die. But here it seems very clear. It says that your servant did fear Hashem, and seems to call back to Avadiyahu, whose fear of Hashem was proven by the fact he was feeding the Nevi'im while working for Achav and during the famine. And this is something now with the society. They're coming to take my two children. And what do I do next? So what's very interesting, okay, so Elisha says, okay, here's what I want you to do. And again, this is something very else as well. Goes out of his way to you'll see he's an active helper. He's not like Eliyahu who has to be shown suffering, as we showed in Parakid Zion in Melachim. Elisha goes out of his way. What do I do? Okay, so do you have anything in the house? I have a small pot of oil, and this is the famous miracle. Go gather all the miracle from your neighbors, empty vessels, borrow not a few. Now, there is one parish which I find very intriguing, which says, well, if the neighbors also have empty vessels, that implies that what? They also are starving. They're also doing it. But apparently, this is not only meant to give this woman food and substance, but also to explain to the neighbors, you also have this ability. If you had only had Emunah on me, you, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but I'm saying me on purpose for the next story, um, then you also would have been fed. Now she goes and she gathers them down. She says, close the door. So Rashi makes the point here that the kavod of Emnes is that it takes place in a hidden manner. Um, and this is, others will talk about it. Okay, this is the Ramban, however, in Breshit, he says, no, it's not. This is reality. This is how Kadosh Baruch Hu does miracles. Okay, what meaning that miracles only take place, and this is in Breshit Vav Yud Tet for those who want to look it up. Miracles only take place if you make the first move. This is the famous midrash of Nafshan jumping into the Red Sea. But here, if you gather the pots, you start believing it will continue to pour. But I will not create new things for you if you're not willing to make the effort first. And so here we have this wonderful miracle that's done, and this is miracle number one. We're going to stop here because I want to talk in the next video, which is the short one, but we'll follow this one, about the nature of the bringing the boy back to life and how that whole story unfolded. Until then, which is 1 minute when you may go end here and click the next one, have a great day. Take care.